What's up, everybody? It is your boy Jacob wishing you a Merry Christmas. You could probably cut the video right there and just send that to a friend, but if it's not Christmas, if it's already passed, then just keep watching the video. Yeah, I hope it's going well for everybody. I wanted to kind of round out the year with some sort of, review, a wrapped, retrospective, whatever you like to call it, and kind of get into some of my favorite albums from this year that I feel like really, encapsulated the feelings of the year, kind of where I was at and how I was transitioning to where I am right now. And so I figured it would be an interesting idea for a video to basically say what I like about these albums and where I was when I heard them. But before we get into the actual album reviews, I do want to say quick sponsor. Okay, this isn't a sponsor, but a lot of YouTubers would do that. Me, I'm just gonna plug my own music, because if you've enjoyed any of the music that's played in the background of like any of my videos so far, spoiler alert, that is me. So go check out Nameless Warning. That's what I go by. Most of the music has been playing under that alias. I'm trying to work on a new album. That's what these posters are for. How much more do I need to say? I'll have the link to that channel as well as everything else I mentioned, including the Rate Your Music page that I'm getting this from. Now, I decided to only choose 5 of my top albums because I realized I didn't listen to a lot of albums from this year, so it wouldn't really make sense to do a top 10 because that would be like half of what I heard. All right, let's get into it. Coming in at number 5, we have Tyler, the Creator, Call Me If You Get Lost. Now, this album for me, I like it. I really like Tyler. I've always liked most of his records that he's put out. I think the first one I heard was Wolf back in 2013, which I was like a sophomore in high school or something. And what was I even into at that time? Like just basic electronic music. So even listening to anything like the hip hop realm was a bit new to me. And so, of course, one of my friends introduced me to that album, and it changed my life. Well, it wasn't that deep, but it's still a pretty decent album. And I've been, loosely following Tyler since then, and, keeping up with his work. And, it's interesting. I really haven't had an album of his like hit that hard. I mean, I've respectfully enjoyed all of them and can definitely see the work and the amount of effort that's put in and the artistry behind it all. Even with Flower Boy, that record is clean, that record is polished. I mean, there's some good hits on there, there's some good bangers, and then, of course, the complete contrast with Igor with the really rough production and, that sort of deal, but then leading into Call Me If You Get Lost, I feel like was a great middle ground and almost a callback to some of the songs on Wolf, but just updated in Tyler's more cohesive, more professional sort of style that maybe he was wanting to do back then. So I really do like this album. I feel like it grew on me a decent amount this year. I rated this album on July 6th of this year, which was about a week or so after it came out. And what I'm actually going to do is pull up the day in my daily journal. Yeah, I've kept a journal for a good few years. I think I've mentioned this in another video, but what I want to do is actually see what I was doing on that day and see if anything stands out. All right, here we go. July 6th. Yawn, whole lot of nothing happened today. I've been putting off applying for this job. Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, apparently I was putting it off by listening to Tyler. Priorities. Number 4 on my list is Polydance by Roosevelt. Now, this may not be an artist everyone's immediately familiar with, which I would expect. That is completely okay, but they make some great synth pop hits, tunes, jams, if you'd like to call them. They're not all that like immediately like, wow, this is crazy, to the ear, but they're very much in the sense of they grow on you a little bit. And I feel like they have an emotional kind of pull that some like synth pop albums just like don't really have as well. And so it's interesting to see, especially I've been following Roosevelt for a while, and to see how far he's come since his first couple of albums. Those are great too, but I feel like he really nails like the production on this thing. Like it's actually great, and I come back to it pretty often. The whole album flows very well. I would recommend it. It's a great time. Now, as for where I was, this came out February 26th, and I rated this like the next day. yeah, so this was really interesting because I actually moved like that next week, or somewhere in that realm, and that was like the first big move I've really made. I mean, besides college, of just taking all the stuff I had and driving out to Kansas. Like a good 5 hour drive, not too insane, I suppose, but for something like that, just to do completely by myself, was a bit of a challenge, maybe a bit of a bold move looking back, because it was moving into like having a new job and a new apartment and just a whole new everything. And yeah, this album, I feel like, encapsulates that first kind of transition, because I remember I did have this playing in the car a decent amount. I mean, on a 5 hour drive, yeah, I'm going to need something. And this album definitely resonated with that transitional period. So Roosevelt, big ups. It's that high in my spot for a reason. So let's keep going. Coming in at number 3 is the Making Magic 2 album by DJ Sabrina, the teenage DJ now. Goodness gracious, if you know me at all, this has been like my artist of the year. In fact, it was in my Spotify Wrapped, as I showed you near the beginning of the video. They were at my top for a reason. Well, maybe a few reasons, because their albums are very long, and so naturally that might just add a lot of minutes and show Spotify that that's what I like the most. But honestly, I did listen to all of it, so I think it counts for a good reason. But I mean, this album just came out like about a month ago, and I actually found DJ Sabrina from Charmed. That was kind of their breakout hit. And I found it earlier this year, and it has just described like my whole year perfectly. I mean, it's just a very yearning, very enchanting kind of album that is a bit hard to put into words, but I feel like maybe fills some of that void of just being completely by yourself and having almost another person there, except it's like in an album form. If that makes any sense, I would recommend giving it a listen, even though it is 3 hours long. I mean, this album, Making Magic 2 album, is about 2-ish hours, and most of Sabrina's albums are about that long, which might seem extremely intimidating and or daunting going into, because I mean, you ask who has time for that. Well, you figure out rather quickly that you do have time for that, because once you start listening, it's a little hard to stop. Not only that, it goes by really quick, which is impressive to say the least. I mean, albums that are bogged down are usually some of my pet peeves, but Sabrina keeps it popping, keeps it going. And Making Magic 2 album is no exception. I don't just like it because I made a song with DJ Sabrina, even though I did. I did make a song, and it's actually my pretty much only song I've released this year under Nameless Warning, which was insane. I mean, how often is it you get like your top artist and make a song with them? I think that was so sick, and yeah, again, really encapsulated a lot of this year. All right, we're moving up the list. Let's go to number 2 with Death's Dynamic Shroud, Faith in Persona. Ooh, man. Yet another album I actually just discovered like not even a month ago. It's really crazy with this new transition as I moved to another city. I've had this album on repeat like nonstop. It's insane. And I've gotten very into the vaporwave scene as of this year, and I feel like this is almost the peak of where it's at right now, because this album takes vaporwave and kind of flips it on its head. I mean, it takes the usual like slow down kind of sloshy samples, but mixes that with like a pop music deconstruction is the best way I could describe it, and kind of combines those to make a very like modern sound. And the production's very clean as well, which isn't something you always see with vaporwave. Usually it's all like muddled and, as I said, kind of sloshy like that, but it uses it to its advantage here with the pop sound and makes it very clean and takes these modern pop samples to make... I don't even know how to describe it. I can't praise this album enough because it is just super sick. And I've been kind of following DDS a little bit because vaporwave scene, they're pretty high up there. But yeah, this album is just nuts. And as I said, it's been on repeat, and I feel like I've started associating it with driving to work, which isn't the best thing, but I mean, how can I resist? So let's move on, shall we? To our number 1 spot. Now, you may have seen this coming if you know me, and a lot of people probably had this as their number 1 as well, but goodness gracious, how could you not? It's just such like an almost era-defining album by Porter Robinson, that is Nurture, of course I'm talking about, and wow, I mean, I almost just want to say nurture, and just leave it. Just, I mean, it's almost that hard to put into words, but I feel like in a similar vein to like DJ Sabrina, it has that emotional pull that you just gotta like experience. And it's really something else. I mean, I've followed Porter forever, and this album has followed me all year. Since the moment it came out, I've had it on repeat everywhere. I got the CD. I was gonna go see him on tour, and like it didn't work out. There were like 3 opportunities, and they were all it just didn't happen, and that made me really sad. But it is what it is. I'm sure I'll have another chance. But it's crazy to see, even like listening to a lot of Porter Robinson's like interviews and podcasts he's been on, just how like genuine of a person he is. I feel like actually just like I could just sit and like have a conversation with him, and like I'd be so just like at peace. You know what I mean? Like that's the feeling I get when I hear him, and I think the music, it translates perfectly into what he makes as well, because it's so great. And I feel like his taste is also very similar to mine. I feel like I'll find myself listening to an artist, I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. I don't think anyone's heard of it. I look it up and it's on like Porter's playlist. I'm like, are you kidding me, man? This is crazy. So yeah, I guess that would make sense, right? We both kind of have the same taste, and we both make what we like. And so yeah, Porter's been a huge inspiration to what I made, and honestly, all of these artists have. So there you have it. I know this was a bit of a quick list, but I would be curious to know what your favorite albums of the year are, and how they made an impact on you. And maybe I've heard them, maybe I haven't. Go ahead and link your topsters. Go ahead and link your rate your musics. Go ahead. Whatever you can display your ranked list of the year, whatever. And yeah, I'd like to say that this year, I mean, it's been pretty good in music. I haven't had all the time in the world to really dig in as much as I have in previous years, but that's to be expected. Again, I mean, I've done a lot of moving, and my free time has been a bit short lately, and so I've been at least trying to do these videos and trying to make music and etc. So yes, hopefully looking forward to 2022 and what kind of releases are coming out. Would love to hear what you're looking forward to as well. And I don't know, I feel like I'm like in a Fantano mode right now. I'm gonna be like, okay, love it, hate it, what would you rate it? Yeah. But I won't, because we're not copying YouTubers. We're taking some inspiration, sure, but that's as far as we'll go. All right, peace out, guys. Have a great rest of your 2021, and I'll probably see you next year with some new, fresh content. Thanks for supporting me, anyone who has so far on this new endeavor of mine. Excited to see where it goes, and yeah, have a good one, y'all. Merry Christmas. Woohoo!